Welcome everyone to another episode of Plastic Hearts Podcast, episode 6, April 8th. I'm Fonze, and I'm joined with my co-host Gavin Jones, indie game dev extraordinaire. I wanted to make sure I get that. That's gonna be your tagline.
Haven't touched a line of code, and
we don't need to include that, Gavin. We'll just don't even know the specifics. Okay, so Gavin, let's talk about some video games. What have you been playing this week?
Well, I see. This is the tricky part: is I can see your list,
Okay,
and I can see that you've been playing Baba Is You, which I've heard is fucking brilliant.
yeah, it's cool. I'm not that far in it, but yeah, I like it a lot.
Can we start with you just so you can talk about that? Because
Sure.
I hear it is just genius.
It's super weird where I feel like I wonder if there's a way to have kids start to like code through it or something. Maybe that's a whole side conversation. But
I mean, it is kind of like the way you're manipulating the rules and changing the variables. Right. Like in a way, it is. Well, it's
because you have these logic rules that you have to follow, and
there's this comment that I thought was brilliant from a programmer I was once talking to, because he would code in this thing called multimedia fusion, which is clearly you're still making a game, right? But you're not using code necessarily. Some people would like ask me questions about like, is it just like a platform for babies? I'm like, well, no, it's not. I don't know how to describe why it's not. And he pointed out that just because you're not coding doesn't mean you're not still programming.
Interesting.
And that's what this is. You're not necessarily coding, although you kind of are. But you're definitely programming what you're doing. You're manipulating these things. You're changing the way things work.
How would you describe it if you were to like give someone an elevator pitch on what you're doing in the game?
It's combining programming puzzles with grid-based environmental puzzles. So I can't even imagine like how mind-bending this must have been work on for like this is like a designer's dream game right here, because you're designing the levels, you're designing the mechanics and the way they work. Like it's brilliant.
So far, it's really neat the way they kind of start to reveal what you can do. Because you start off with the main rules, Baba Is You, which is like a little bunny, but then you have stuff like anyone encounters in video games, like a wall, like a skull that means death, and so as you maneuver around, your ultimate goal is to get to this flag. But then they add stuff where, and everything's text based, where in the corner and on the actual on the same game screen, you can manipulate whether the flag is really the end goal, or that is death, or a wall is the end goal, or you're the wall. And as you move the words around, you physically have to move them. You just change the rules. Like I think at one point I became a wall to push lava out the way to get to the flag, or I've become the flag before. Like you could just kind of play around with stuff, but then they will limit what you can manipulate too. Like you can be on the other side of a wall, and there's just no way you can change like the Baba Is You or the end goal. The flag is the win. So you have to use other ways to kind of get to the thing. But it's really interesting. I imagine just like thinking of this idea is such a trip too. Like where do you start when you're like, I want to do this? Yeah,
it's like, I mean, probably a lot of weed. But it's still absolutely
that gets you the idea,
brilliant.
But then you like have to do the work, and I feel like you have to just cold shower and then actually start doing it.
I mean, I feel like the basic setup is definitely kind of doable, but I'm sure at some point he had to come up with. Or
I didn't look up the team. Yeah, I'm curious now. I've been one of the Kotaku journalists was kind of talking it up, and I checked it out. So developer is Hempalai Oi, designer RV Taya
it's
Kart.
made in Click Team. That's literally the engine I was just talking about,
where
you're not actually coding, you're programming. So Click Team Fusion is a super old engine. They do update it, heavy in quotes. But it's like this super old engine that's got this really bass-backwards way of making games. Yet at the same time, it's because you're not coding, it's enabled so many people to code and has made some absolutely fucking brilliant games out of it. Like I think the biggest one is Treasure Planet, which if you've seen Treasure Planet, you're like, how was this made without like a team of like amazing coders? It looks like a brilliant,
not the movie, not the Disney movie Treasure Planet.
Is that what it's called?
I'm gonna look up Treasure Planet game.
Nope.
Okay.
Shit.
Something Planet. But it is a not click based. What was that?
Yeah, it was made in coding, but it looks like a Sonic on Sega Genesis, but like better graphics. Yeah. Like quality of it was amazing. Adventure? No. Shit.
So I'm pulling up some of the software and video game development. Oh, this is the actual.
Yeah, Multimedia Fusion was sort of a branch. Shoot. Yeah, I think Multimedia Fusion was the branch off.
So Five Nights at Freddy's, if I'm reading this correctly,
that's right. Wikipedia? Five Nights at Freddy's was made in this.
Wow.
Not a single line of code.
Interesting.
But he knew how to do those cool. Everything, if you probably noticed, everything in Five Nights at Freddy's is pre-rendered 3D.
Sure.
I mean, there are extensions that allow you to do 3D. But
yeah, because you're not physically moving around. It's just these pre-rendered environments and scenes.
That makes me so happy that ClickTeam Fusion gets a little more.
That's cool. I imagine they're taking away not a lot of the hurdles or like the confusion, but they're kind of simplifying it to where. But then that lets other people with just the ideas, these unique ideas, they're able to then explore and do something. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You have an idea. You want to make a game. This is it. Specifically, if it's 2D.
Gotcha.
Hard qualification there. But it's sort of it's also I always wish I learned how to do it because I always had that idea of doing drunk game jams. That would be like a short game jam. Yeah. But in Game Maker, what I'd use, like coding when you're drunk is extremely hard because you have to be very, very logical.
Right.
And when I get drunk, the first thing that goes out of my brain is my logic circuit.
Right. It doesn't go up points.
Yeah. So this one you can literally be like, and this character now has platformer controls and go. It's like,
that's awesome.
Fuck, you could make a game while drunk and it could be legitimately not terrible.
So my next idea is like, what about that dad temperature control simulator game?
You can make it in this.
Did you?
I mean, you can make most things in ClickTeam Fusion. Just keep them 2D.
Okay.
I mean, there's a certain also element though with it is how hard do you want to make development on yourself? Because there are certain things like I think Baba Is You would probably be easier made.
With something
with
else?
Code, yeah, like in a different engine.
Gotcha.
That being said, I don't know ClickTeam Fusion enough to really say too much about it, but
I had no idea this was a thing. You opened my eyes. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot of Baba Is You. I've been using Baba Is You as a palate cleanser for the Messenger when I'm getting like super frustrated, and it's just
you go from one hard physically taxing game,
yeah, but then it's like
mentally taxing.
My brain is just trained, but yeah, Baba Is You was my thing. What have you been playing?
So I bought what's it called?
What's it?
I was gonna buy you a copy
console thing.
Oh, I got a free copy of.
Not the Oberdie, but the Risk of Rain.
Risk of Rain 2. Yeah. Yes. Man, I remember when they first showed footage of that game, and it looked bad when they first showed footage of it. I'm like,
the first was on sale, actually. I know I was thinking about buying it.
Right. But when they showed footage of Risk of Rain 2 in very, very early prototype stage, it looked genuinely pretty bad. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think this game is going to work in 3D. Like some games just, like you look at Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Like Mario made the transition because they found a way to make those mechanics work in transition.
Yeah.
Zelda made that transition because they found a way to make those 3 dimensions work. But like Sonic just didn't. Like some things don't translate into 3D, and I didn't think that this game would. Boy, is it better in 3D. It is just, God, is it good.
It definitely catches my attention more than some of the 2D stuff I've seen.
Yeah.
But just because I really like how they're fleshing out this art style, and it looks like it runs super smooth too. It looks awesome.
It does. Well, that was the thing with the first one. So the first one had to run super smooth because you'd have like hundreds of enemies on screen at once, and you're fighting them like... It really sells further than when I was trying to think of a way to like compare the way this game feels, and it reminds me of how people used to describe. I didn't really like Halo, but a lot of people liked it because they're like, you feel like this one-man army that's taking on a literal army, and in this game, you are definitely a one-person army taking on a big old army, and it feels so good, and you get really cool builds going. The levels are huge and expansive, so like I feel like such a noob because I don't know the levels yet, and so I just need to be able to explore them, but there's still a time crunch, so you can only explore so much.
Is anything generating, like as far as the levels go, or they're always set?
So I think this was a smart decision that they made in the last game, and they've kept it for this one. The levels themselves are not procedurally generated. Gotcha. However, you will go through. So you'll start off on a level like this. There's two versions of this level, right? And then you'll go to the next, which can be either like a swamp or a desert. And I don't know if there's multiple versions of that. And then you go to the next area, which is a snow area, which I've only seen one version of. Yeah. But while the levels themselves aren't procedurally generated, they're very well designed. But what levels you will be playing is not necessarily decided. So this game really isn't super procedurally generated, but it is very it's more random than anything. It's random. It's not procedurally generated, but it's random, quality designed. You just don't know what items you're going to get, where the treasure chests are going to be, where
and
the
that's
teleporter
where I thought
you have to get out is.
Going with the because I figure something is either being procedurally generated or some kind of random element, but I guess the items and the loot, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the bosses and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And the characters are all super interesting and fun to play. This is the Huntress.
Okay.
Or sorry, nobody else can see what's on your computer.
Yeah, we're just looking at footage of this thing. It looks dope.
Yeah.
I like that. So it is you are playing with. Is there like 8 different people on screen at once?
I forget how many you can play with. It's a stupid amount of people. I think the first one was limited to like one other person, and it was hard to get even connected to another person, let alone keep them connected through the entire playthrough.
Yeah.
And this one, it's supported out the gate through Steam, and I want to say you can do at least 4 people. Probably more, I thought I heard. But it's super fun to play by yourself too.
So, when does this release actually?
It just came out in early access last week, I want to say.
Gotcha. So you've been playing it?
Yeah.
So what do you think so far as like, because we're just kind of looking at the footage, like what are your impressions with how it's running and just the gameplay and all that?
Well, it's definitely, it like the first one, like the art style is simplified, and that allows them to throw tons and tons of shit on the screen.
Sure, and I'm totally fine with that.
It's insanity on screen. I think it's a lot. So I was watching streams before I bought it, and I think it is more fun to play than it is to watch.
Gotcha.
It's not like what you're watching on the computer right now is pretty exciting, but it's not always like that, but it's still always fun.
Just knowing that you have to manage what's going on as you're playing. Like you have to keep this in your head.
Yeah, it's a very satisfying game. And nice. I'm going to be playing a lot more of it. So I'm happy that it survived the jump to 3D.
Yeah.
But it is thriving. I like this more than I like the first one already. The other thing, too, that I've heard in the comments from people is like, and I had this problem with the first one, is the first one, it was a little bit too random on whether you were going to get a run going. Like, it was not sure whether you're going to get halfway decent items at the start, and that sort of affects everything you do throughout the rest of the game. Whereas this seems to be a little bit more balanced. It's going to give you at least enough to get going a little ways, and hopefully you find something. Like, you're going to at least have some fun.
Gotcha.
Whereas the other one, you could have absolutely no fun and just...
Oh, I see. So they're kind of controlling those aspects, and it's not as random as far as how they start you off.
Yeah, or at least it feels that way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it feels better balanced. It feels better. And the other thing with it being in 3D is the other one, you couldn't necessarily choose where you're hitting. You're just hitting the first guy in the line because it was 2D.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Whereas this, you can pick, and it's a little more of a fair fight. The other funny thing is, too, one of the worst characters from the first one is that guy. Well, it's the engineer.
Yeah.
Was one of the worst characters, at least in my opinion, in Risk of Rain 1. And now he's the best character. Nice. Like, everyone is just like, he is the best. No argument from anyone here. Yeah. So it's been neat. So I'm happy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on Steam.
It's on Steam, and you have a free copy waiting if ever. I tried to use your username, and
did not work.
Did not work. No.
That just shows how little I use Steam. Like I have some games that I have bought through there, but I just
get it on Epic Launcher. It's fine.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is it? I wonder if this will go to that.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I just bring that up because everyone was so salty about Borderlands being an exclusive on Epic.
Yeah, and that's one of our news stories today too. But nice. I do want to check that out. Yeah, I definitely have to hit you up on that for that download code.
Yeah.
Cool. One thing I haven't played on PC is Islanders.
That was that one game you showed me, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. It was like $5. I think I bought it through the site, or was it through Steam? I forget. It might have been through Steam. Yeah, I think it was through Steam.
Is it full release or is it
Good question. I want to say it is because it's pretty light. I feel like it's the full game. But every time I've like searching Islanders yesterday, I kept getting the hockey team.
You get the New York Islanders.
Yeah, it's on Steam. But so it's like a city builder, just like a super light city builder, where it's less about some of the mechanics like the power, water, and like just like taxes and stuff. You're really just kind of trying to control how many different properties and different concepts you can like fill in one little island. So you'll have different, whether it's like a community of people or like these like kind of factory-based buildings, you have to position them in a way that they can use the most out of each other and not be like, say, too far away from something else that it needs to be close to.
Yeah.
But it sounds way more complicated than it is. It's actually super simple, and so you can get right into it and kind of manage the space. You have a certain amount of points that you'll get for like correctly utilizing the space, and so those points let you then upgrade and get other more complicated buildings. So it's quick to like, okay, I get how it works. Now I can just start like jumping into it. And I'm an idiot, so like it was easy for me to jump into it too.
Yeah. Are these levels procedurally generated? These look designed.
I don't know. They might be. I don't know if I said that. I'm not sure if they are. Yeah. But they might be designed.
So it's sort of like a puzzle game.
It's very puzzle based as far as like how you manage the buildings that you have, where you place them, and how you get the most utilization of each building. But the buildings, the islands rather, are so small that you're just kind of like, you're not pressed for space so much, or you are trying to like really organize things, but you can jump around to other islands too. So like eventually you get enough points, you can just skip out and jump to a new island, and then you get kind of larger spaces to deal with too. But it's really chill too. Like it sounds like it's this kind of like hoarding, game, but really once you get into it, the music's really chill. You have to manage, like the spaces and stuff, but it's actually just really unique, kind of like laid back. You just, placing these buildings around, and then it's adorable. The art style is really cool. Yeah. It's just a slick game. Like I'm really into it right now.
It's got a great style to it for sure.
Yeah, but I'm digging it.
Nice.
It's a good like rewind or unwind kind of game rather.
Yeah.
Where you're playing something, you just pop on there.
Rewind game. It's how you travel back in time.
That's how I travel back in time.
Islanders.
But yeah, Islanders. I'm playing that. Messenger. I'm halfway. I didn't realize that. So it was kind of this Ninja Gaiden-esque, retro game, but once you get to a certain part, it kind of switches it up on you. It turns more Castlevania, where you have to retrack and go through the levels again and collect stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's actually super dope. It's just now harder because they once that happens, they don't hold your hand anymore, and you just have to figure out what to get, how to bring it back, that kind of thing. But it's really cool. I was hoping to beat it this week, but there's a lot more to it. And then I did pop on the Borderlands Handsome Jack collection. It was on sale on PS4. And it's cool. I do want to get some more. I really want to play the Borderlands, the first edition remake thing that they're putting out on console. Yeah. But that was just kind of like wetting my whistle, I guess, if that's the right term.
Yeah, fair enough.
But you know what?
What character were you playing?
I don't remember. I was in such a rush to like, I just want to play. Like sometimes I'm in the mood where it's like, okay, I just want to jump in. And I chose someone. Or someone was chosen for me, but there's this intro, just a pre-rendered cutscene that's like 10 minutes long that you can't skip. It's explaining all the story stuff, which is cool, but I just wanted to get into it, and it was such a bummer. Where it's like, I just want to play. It's like I feel you. I know. I understand you're trying to bring me back to date with the story. I just want to play the game, but that was a bummer. But I will get back into it. It's cool.
Nice.
It's more Borderlands. So I don't know if you want to start with this story, but we'll get into some of the news that happened this week. But this was a big one. So, and I think for this one, we'll take a walk. I'm going to kind of read some of these articles and blurbs from these op-eds and kind of break down. In the grand scheme of things, or the way to kind of shorten it, BioWare had a fumbling release with Anthem. And so after a couple of weeks, Jason Schreier of Kotaku interviewed 19 people from BioWare to kind of get an inside look on what happened. Yeah. And so what he found was just kind of a revealing article on just the crunch time, just some of the mismanagement, indecision that happened all the way up until like the E3 reveal and even to actual release. And then what was also interesting was how BioWare handled the revealing of that whole that op-ed from Jason Schreier. So I'm going to pull up the article in question. And I think IGN did a really good overview, and we're going to pull from the overview because that's like a 10,000 word article, which is awesome. And that's the thing about Jason Schreier. I don't know if you follow him online, but he's always just like getting the best reveals, the best interviews with people. He's awesome. He's really, really just like one of the best guys out there.
Are we going to the response before we're going to what the problem was?
Well, do you want to go with the initial release, the initial article, and then the response to that article?
I think that would make more sense.
Yeah,
to go in order.
So even though this says this is the response, it's really talking about it's laying out the actual article in question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is from IGN. This is Jesse Wade. So the actual title: BioWare responds to report of Anthem's alleged development troubles. But I think this article was a good thing to pull up because it outlines some of the issues. So let's take a walk and let's read this. Okay. So Kotaku's Jason Schreier outlines in his piece that dozens of veteran developers have left BioWare over the past couple of years, with many noting stress being a driving factor. Some from the Edmonton office touch specifically on mental health, with doctors allegedly forcing the employees to take a mandated leave for weeks or months. Something that was reported known around the office as stress casualties. Some people would come back after a few months and others would not. I actually cannot count the amount of stress casualties we had on Mass Effect, Andromeda, or Anthem. A BioWare developer who remained anonymous told Kotaku. Another former developer for BioWare told Kotaku they would often get into a private room, close a door, and just cry. And someone else said depression and anxiety are an epidemic within BioWare. A developer shared the term called BioWare Magic, is well known around the studio. It's reportedly a way of thinking that no matter how challenging the production on a game is, it will all come out together seamlessly in the end. Kotaku writes that this belief worked with Mass Effect Trilogy, Dragon Age Origins, but after the large failures of Mass Effect Andromeda and now Anthem, there needs to be a shift in attitude and working conditions. Another aspect of the challenges within Anthem reportedly came from technical issues with EA's Frostbite engine, which was created by DICE and pushed to be used across all EA studios, as opposed to using a third-party engine such as Unreal. As the report notes, Frostbite reportedly has been known to produce major issues for those working with it, as it doesn't offer the most up-to-date tools to create, especially on a game in a new territory for BioWare. So this does go further, but really the article was laying out just what got Anthem to where it was, just such a overall bad release. There's a lot going on. There was issues with Frostbite, having to use Frostbite. Some of the indecision from the top or mismanagement where they weren't sure on the name Anthem until the very end. It was originally called Beyond, and that was changed. So that first E3 reveal, that was changed for that E3 reveal. So the developers got to see that actually revealed to everyone else. They were also surprised at that too. So stuff like that. They're kind of dealing with the management having disagreements with the direction they should have gone. I know they scrapped like certain concepts like flying at some point, then brought it back. It's been a real struggle. But another thing Jason was kind of focusing on was the BioWare Magic term, where they knew they had issues. They were kind of plugging along because every game, huge game, especially on that caliber, has issues, and they kind of figure it out the last 8 months, kind of thing, where they really wrap it together. They were hoping they were just kind of banking on that usually working out, and it didn't. Yeah. But so some of your thoughts on really just the inside scoop of the development of Anthem.
That was a bad one.
Yeah.
That was like, I'm not saying there's a lot of stories like this, and there are definitely ones that are worse, but this is a bad one.
Yeah.
Like that. And I think one of the saddest things about it too is they mentioned, so the guy who directed the Mass Effect trilogy kept everyone so laser focused that everyone goes in with a mission. And there's so many things I think in this article that really lead to the depression and anxiety in the entire crew.
Yeah. We got a train.
Yeah, we got a train. Might give it a sec.
We can, it doesn't sound that loud. Gee, that's a violent train.
It's very.
Some of those extra honks I think are for no one. They're just like an extra FU to anyone who's around the area. Like, I don't believe that.
Well, I think here it's going up to another intersection, right? So they have to honk so far out of an intersection.
Supposedly, yes. Yeah. I think they're just like extra.
Yeah.
FU, I'm riding a train.
But yeah, there's so much stuff that really leads to anxiety and depression in game development, and they listed all of them. And all of them were taking place into that. There's no leadership. Like, if it feels bad to go in and have no idea what you're working on. It feels bad that they wasted so much time in pre-production, right? You feel aimless. You feel, like nothing you're doing. And I think one of the things that kept killing me about that is like the no decision wastes so many people's times. When you look at the level designers, you cannot design a level if you don't know what the gameplay is. There's no point whatsoever. You look at the tool makers, there's no point in making a tool if it's going to get scrapped, if you don't know what it's going to do. There's just so much pointlessness, and it sucks too because so much of that is like built into the Unreal Engine that they just didn't use.
Gotcha.
And sure, there are other engines you can use as well, but they keep wanting to use this Frostbite engine, that is notorious for problems. But yeah, the mismanagement.
And that's because that's in-house, so they had their incentive is they don't have to pay whatever royalties or licensing fees to use these other big engines around, right?
Right, and that's what the execs see. They're looking at that. They're looking at the dollar signs, and they're just and that's what you do in the game industry. You try and make as much money as you can for as little money as you can, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I respect that. Yep, same here.
If you're doing it correctly,
right?
If you're not, and this clearly proved that using that engine in this particular case wasted far more energy and time and money.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that how many studios were even working on it towards the end? Like, first of all, they were 3 internal studios. Then they were outsourcing to other people for a game that's still not good.
Right. I know at some point they pulled people from FIFA because EA is also developing that, but that's their cash cow. So eventually they had so many people pulled from FIFA, they had to just throw them back on there because that game actually makes them money.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of pulling from everyone, all hands on deck to get it done. Which I get, like you always hear issues with these really these huge AAA games that they have issues on development, and it really kind of comes together at the last moment. But this one, like you said, it was really bad. And which, granted, is that huge news? No, that happens a lot. Like there was a similar story with sort of similar with Rockstar, at least as far as like the revealing of the crunch times and stuff. They got a lot of criticism, right, with Red Dead 2 when it released.
Oh, the non-mandatory crunch times?
Right. Yeah. And I had that article pulled up, but that was interesting. That was just a revealing, look on how these crunch times are crazy hard, and they're just trying to get this thing out of the door and kind of sort of sacrificing people in the sake of it. But it's so with the BioWare news, it's maybe not the biggest reveal in the world, but what's super interesting was the way BioWare handled it. So they obviously, Jason Schreier talked to 19 people who either worked on or worked adjacent to Anthem through BioWare. So this is from their internal teams, but instead they decided to kind of reveal this really generic response. So the article that we're talking about from Jason Schreier is 10,000 words. So it's a lengthy, meaty freaking article. So within like 11 minutes, a couple of minutes, they actually had this canned response. So I'm going to kind of dive into this. So immediately after posting the 10,000 word article, BioWare had a somewhat canned response ready to go. So here's their actual response to the article. We hear the criticisms that were raised by the people in the piece today, and we're looking at that alongside feedback that we receive in our internal team surveys. We put a lot of focus on better planning to avoid crunch time, and it was not a major topic of feedback in our internal postmortems. Making games, especially new IP, will always be one of the hardest entertainment challenges. We do everything we can to try and make it healthy and stress-free, but we also know there is always room to improve. What we don't see, so this is kind of further in their response. We don't see the value in tearing down one another or another's work. We don't believe articles that do that are making our industry and craft better.
Nope, they are.
Right.
It absolutely is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not attacking the game.
He's not. But also, this response is not really referring to his article or the details in his article. It's just
they didn't read it. Not at that point, like he says in his tweet. It went up 16 minutes later.
Yeah. So this was there. It was a really gross, just kind of a response. But this is maybe coming from the top. They just needed some kind of knee-jerk reaction to they knew that something was going to be revealed about whatever the interviews that happened. Yeah. So this is a tweet from Jason Schreier, because he was tweeting all day after once that was revealed, and then the response from BioWare. So his tweet says, my star went up at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Their blog post went up at 11:16 a.m. Even if somehow someone read 11,000 words and wrote that post in 16 minutes, it'd have to go through many layers of EA approval before going live. So it was really just kind of a canned, But that's somehow even more gross that they're really not looking to learn anything from the actual article itself.
Well, they're not.
Right. So now after a couple of days, so this was on Thursday, so there was an internal email that was shared through the team of BioWare. So Casey Hudson is the head team leader there. So he's general manager at BioWare. Mm-hmm. And within the actual BioWare team, he sent out an internal email to kind of reference or like have a response, at least within the team, to that actual article that went out. So I'm just going to read this quote from the actual article if I can pull it up. So the internal email is super long, but I wanted to pull up the first thing here. So some excerpts from it are the fact that he says that these problems are real and promising that it is our top priority to continue to working to solve them. But they don't really shy away from the fact that, okay, something's going on, at least in this email. But this is just directed towards the team itself. Mm-hmm. But so here's a better example. The article mentions many of the problems in the development of Anthem and some of our previous projects, and it draws a link between these issues and the quality of our workplace and the well-being of our staff. These problems are real, and it's our top priority to continue working to solve them. I feel like this was a good, at least to the team, like, hey, we're not shying away. It could have gone into more detail, but it's at least we're acknowledging this, and we're going to try and turn things around somewhat. Yeah. But maybe he has more wiggle room to talk to his team rather than the head of BioWare to release some kind of official response, because I don't want to admit any blame.
I'm sure there's going to be a powwow. I think that the thing about it, though, is like, so you hear about so many of the people giving feedback to the higher ups, and they just ignored them for years. Yeah. Years these people are getting ignored. How much are they really going to get heard now?
Right.
Like, that's still going to be a problem. They,
really, it's only a financial, change that will cause whoever higher up at BioWare to actually switch gears or change to make make any changes. If Anthem had enough success for them, then they'll just kind of keep going with how they deal with development and how they deal with set goals and that kind of thing. Yeah. They'll just keep running the way they run. Yeah. But I mean, I obviously don't like to hear this thing happening, but I like that these reveals, these interviews are exposed, because it kind of sheds light on the actual reality of game development, at least with these AAA studios. I mean, it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot of pressure. You're kind of just thrown in there as a cog in the machine, and it's not all glamorous as we kind of think on the other end, where it's like, oh, I get to make games. Well, in this case, with these huge industries, these huge AAA developers, you're just one amongst hundreds of people, and they treat you that way. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing I did like to focus on a minute was the casualties, the development casualties, because they talk about people would leave for months, right? And that's a lot of time. I mean, it could not be burnout, it could be stress, it could be another factors that are very similar, but they talk about people going away and not coming back. Yeah. And burnout is not necessarily temporary in any way, shape, or form. You can be burnt out for life.
We just no longer develop or have any interest in that.
You can't. Just touching it makes you miserable. And it's like, you hope these people can come back, but that's still like these games have taken awesome developers, and they're never going to touch code again. They're never going to touch art again. They're never going to touch all these things that at one point brought them so much joy. Yeah. It's like, that's fucking monstrous.
It's it's almost like you hear that same thing with like the music industry or, the movie industry. It's just like you have these creative people, but you have a way of draining their soul with just like just having to put out this stuff, and the financial side to it is really just creatively draining. Yeah. It sucks, especially with games. I mean, it's literally a industry built on having fun. Yeah. But the casualties, the actual human expense at the same time, where all of us are blind to it. So at the very least, these articles are shedding some light, and then just helping gamers kind of decide, are the people really going to not buy Anthem because of what's happening? Maybe not, but at least they're more educated, and if something else happens in the future, they can really talk with their wallet.
Yeah. It is also interesting to see. So I remember when they did that big Anthem release, and they showed all the flying and stuff, and everyone thought it was cool as shit, because we didn't know anything about that game really until then. And then we didn't know anything until launch, basically. And I remember that whole time thinking they had a plan, when really they had the furthest thing from a plan, like barely shortly up until release. And I do give a lot of credit to that director they brought in at the end, who really was just like, we're putting something out the door, because they physically couldn't get stuff organized to get stuff out the door, but he got them organized. And it's just like, that's good enough, man. Like, I don't know anyone that could pull that shit off.
You know what? I imagine tons of unsung heroes that are hired to come in and just rewrite a ship, where it's like, hey, we're reaching this deadline. Yeah. We need someone to come in. I mean, there's tons of I imagine just people under this behind the scenes that are doing exactly that. Wow. And it's just trying to get it together to ship out something, to make something workable.
Yeah. Because that game, it didn't have to come out. They could have been that disorganized.
I feel like ideally another 6 months, you know, to really just kind of get everything down.
Could have been another 6 years.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't make decisions, that's crazy, man. That was a bad one.
Yeah. It's kind of just a huge kind of cloud that hung over from last week. But there hasn't been any updates that I've seen so far. They do have planned with Anthem. There's planned DLC, kind of updates to the game. So I imagine the team is just kind of crunching away getting that done. What do you think and that's what everyone kind of online is looking at, this kind of spurred those thoughts up again, is what is the future for Anthem? Do you see them surviving to an Anthem 2, or like, how do they right this wrong? How do they kind of get people back on board if they've left already?
I don't know.
Yep, that's accurate. Because it's not like it's broken. It's just there's an awesome concept and a workable thing there. It's just about, more, engaging the community, getting them back on track. It's not like a royal, like Hello Games kind of handling of the launch that they had with
which I'd love for them to have. I don't think it's going to happen. The other thing that I think is kind of sad too is they mentioned like the original vision for the game was sort of like a survival, like adventuring out and seeing how long you can go.
Because that was the beyond concept, was you have to survive outside of these walls, outside of this area with your team, and kind of the weather's changing and all the elements are attacking you. Yeah, it was a cool idea.
Which is interesting from the aspect of, I was going to bring up 2 games, and I forgot the first one.
Gotcha.
Oh, so they mentioned during the development that you weren't allowed to talk to Destiny 2, which I've heard of. Like, people would bring it up, and people would get mad if you mentioned Destiny when comparing this game. I was not aware that was enforced by the higher-ups.
Interesting.
Which was ridiculous.
You think they'd want to be aware of their competition and at the very least know when to steer away or to, like, go towards that?
Yeah.
It's nuts to me.
The other thing is, so they mentioned that that they really wanted it to be more like Diablo, which would have been cool. But the thing is there's a game that's totally going that direction. I don't know if you pay any attention whatsoever to Torchlight 3, but it's very...
I've heard that name, but I don't think I've actually seen any footage or anything.
So the Torchlight series is just basically Diablo. It's cuter. It's got a few more conveniences. Like, if you're in the depths of a dungeon and your inventory's full, send your dog back with your shit and he'll sell it.
Okay.
And then he'll come back to you and you can do it again. It's pretty... it's just a good Diablo-style game.
Gotcha.
And Torchlight 3 is, a pseudo MMO. And you just go out into these beautiful areas, and you go as far as you can go. They're procedurally generated. The further you go out, the harder it is, but the better the loot is. So it's just like challenge by choice. You just go as hard as you can and have as much fun as you possibly can. And I feel like if they had done that with Anthem, it would have been absolutely brilliant. But we can still get something of that with this game, Torchlight. It just sucks that it's not beautiful in like 3D like Anthem it is. I mean, it's a top-down RPG, which is great, and there's a huge audience for that on PC.
Right, they were going for a different look to it, but at least applying those concepts to the game, and
so at least people get to play some semblance of that idea. It's just a completely different game.
I see, with Torchlight.
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, time will tell. It hasn't been that long since it released, and we'll see how the DLC, the other updates will be received, and how that community either grows or finds something else. It's just it's tough because there's so much competition right now for these kind of team-based shooters, online shooters, where if you're not, offering something, people just move on.
Yeah, and especially now that like Destiny really, I feel like almost has always been on the cusp of having it. And like we were hoping that Anthem was going to come in and have it, and then Division 2 just walked in and was like, by the way, someone finally has it. So it
seems like their launch was super, relatively smooth too for that kind of thing. Like,
and it's
no
fun.
Issues. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good game. So if people finally get that looter shooter they want, just no jetpacks.
Right. So. Yep. That was a big one. That was a big one this week. There's another kind of just a more fun, kind of out of left field somewhat, but it was a VR update to some games for a Nintendo VR.
I call so much bullshit on this.
Well, this one's it's interesting, right? So on April 5th, Nintendo announced these VR additions to at least 2 existing games. One of them's Mario Odyssey, the other one's Zelda Breath of the Wild. Right. VR in some capacity. So with the Nintendo Labo VR kit in Odyssey, you can put it on and you can, that's part of it. You put it up to your face in some form and you play the game. You can kind of watch, just like you're in third person playing Mario, you can see everything around you somewhat, and more of like just a theater kind of mode where it just seems more 3D things happening around you. And then the VR mode in Zelda Breath of the Wild is legit, where you can play the entire game apparently in that same viewable space where you see Zelda. It's moving around you and it's kind of warping around your face. That was one thing with Mario Odyssey is there's these kind of controlled levels that you can play. With Breath of the Wild, the entire game can be played in that alternate view.
See, it just makes no sense to me though, because for Mario Odyssey, that game it was designed to be played with your with the what are the controllers called? The Wiimotes.
Like the actual Joy-Cons?
Yeah, the Joy-Cons. So it was designed to be played with the Joy-Cons disconnected, and now you have to be holding them up against your face.
Yeah.
So now you're going to be playing this game like that.
Right. We're looking at Mario literally just kind of almost like looking through, a viewfinder or something. Right. But you're holding the entire game and your arms up the entire game, just like looking like a jackass.
But the other thing is Zelda, the Switch can barely hand Zelda. Like, especially if you go into the wooded area, it would drop down to like 15 frames per second. You double that, like you do 2 of those? You render everything twice?
I wonder if that's what they're doing. Or if they're just adding these lenses to warp it and distort it enough to create the idea of
That won't do 3D. It, though. No? Like, it will not create... You're just going to be looking at the same image through 2 different eyes, which is still 2D.
Gotcha. Okay. So they do have to split it in some capacity and then change the... I don't know. Yeah. And then there's... Even if they handle that, the fact that you're playing, which is really a long-form game, Zelda, you're kind of on the couch playing it for a while. Yeah. You're doing that for hours, holding your Switch up to your face. That's hard to really wrap your head around. Yeah. Unless because they aren't offering like a thing with Labo where you plug in your actual, like the solid part of the Switch, like the actual screen, and then you can have your controller separate. The whole thing has to be up there. Yeah. So unless you somehow modify it to work, but I don't think that's how it goes, because the motion control is tied to the controller, so it has to be up here. Yeah. Unless you on the side of it or somehow connected to it, you have like a Pro controller, and then you can keep everything. But then it looks even more ridiculous to have your actual Switch duct taped to your face. Yeah, just don't do it.
Well, the other thing too is, who is this for? Because you look at people that are really into VR.
Yeah, it's not for them.
Yeah, they want unique VR experiences. Give them that 3D Nintendo Labo stuff where you get those goofy controllers, because that's stuff they can get behind. But playing Zelda and Mario with just 3D is basically all it's doing, because you're not playing from first-person perspective. Yeah. This is doing nothing for...
It's maybe more for kids, I guess, because I mean, the base headset starts at $39.99. I'm pulling up some of the details from The Verge. So this is an article from Dami Lee. So the base headset is $39.99. It arrives April 25th. I think just like in line with all the other Labo stuff, it is geared towards kids, and it's just more of a fun, like, here's a short half hour, an hour you can spend playing this thing. But yeah, they're really not trying to compete with Oculus or anything. Yeah. But it's just strange.
Yeah. I do agree with people saying that they need to make a new Pokemon Snap if they're going to do this, because
that'd be dope.
It's the ultimate game for this.
Yep.
There's
I will definitely get, carpal tunnel or whatever, like have my issues with my arms up for hours if I can play Pokemon Snap.
Star Fox would be pretty cool too.
That'd be neat. Yep. Maybe some kind of Metroid Prime thingy, you know, because there is an actual extension for the Labo where it looks like a gun and you're viewing through it. So
I'm down.
Right.
I would like a head strap though, because no head strap. Just I don't want to hold this thing.
No. I like that they're just messing with it, but it's also just like kind of half-baked idea somewhat.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So,
but they're letting the team go for it. So,
right.
This is a weird article I pulled up, or that happened over the week. Had something to do with Fortnite. So it was Prince Harry kind of standing against Fortnite, and really just kind of these addictive online games.
Fortnite is addictive, should be banned.
Yeah, so this is from IGN. This is from Jesse Wade. So Prince Harry says Fortnite is addictive, should be banned. So I'll go kind of down the line, and we'll take a walk again. Prince Harry recently called for a ban on Fortnite and other games while at a YMCA in West London, saying the games are addictive, according to the Daily Express and reported by Variety. The Duke of Sussex was speaking about addictive games and social media to mental health experts and said that social media is more addictive than drugs or alcohol. When talking specifically about the Battle Royale Fortnite, he said, the game shouldn't be allowed. It's created to addict. Prince Harry said, an addiction to keep you in front of a computer for as long as possible. It's so irresponsible. He told parents to take action themselves by making their children interact with the outside world more. Parents have got their hands up. They don't know what to do about it. It's like waiting for the damage to be done, he said. In terms of social media, Prince Harry said, it's more dangerous because it's normalized and there are no restrictions to it. We are in a mind-altering time. Without that human connection, when you have a problem, you have nowhere to go, he continued. The only place you might go is online, and you will probably end up getting bullied. Fortnite recently introduced an undo button for purchases in-game. Make sure to check out our updated interactive, blah, 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 blah. Oh. So that's from IGN. It was just kind of an interesting sort of out of left field response. I feel like every couple of years there's always a game that is attacked for whatever aspect that's happening. Yeah. And right now it's Fortnite. It's just the biggest online game right now, so it's easy to jump on there. But what do you think about some of the issues with like just game addiction as far as like, responding to that with children? I feel like there's something there where I see the morality, like I see he means well, but I don't think you're really changing anything by demonizing these games. It really comes down to the parents controlling what their kids do.
I mean, it's like anything, within reason.
Right.
Right. Because if you're not playing games within reason, they are addictive.
But it could be any game though. It doesn't have to be Fortnite.
Yeah. I mean, I think Fortnite has this thing that kind of makes it sort of addictive, and it's definitely a property in a lot of games I like. Like I like a lot of roguelikes, which is that it's like a sped up Skinner box.
Okay.
So the Skinner box just being like, you open the box and maybe you'll get something good, maybe you'll get something bad, but it's that thrill of opening it.
Right.
And like, it sucks when you get something bad, but when you get something good, you're really excited. So the fact that this game, unlike a lot of other games with those like progress trees, like you'd have back in like Modern Warfare 1,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I played so many games, now maybe I'll get a thing. Is it good? Whereas this is just like every round, just like something better. Yep. And by the time you're like almost at your height of like powered up, the game ends and you want to start again. You want to see if you can get all the way built up. So yep. It's addictive, but it's like.
And there's this weird fine line between addictive and like ideal gameplay. Like you want them to kind of have the carrot, far enough to where you want to actually follow it, and they're doing a great job of it. But then that's kind of the point of this idea with these games, is to make it interesting enough to keep playing it. So should they be demonized for that, for really cracking the code when it comes to that? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it really comes down for me with parents to just kind of be more in their kids' lives and know what they're doing, control how much time they play games. And I guess if you're adult, it's up to you to just, take a shower and like go to work and like keep living your life, but also play these games. Yeah. I don't think it's this huge epidemic that it's kind of being geared towards.
It was a little, I mean, at least I'll take like him blaming, it feels like it used to be like video games that get blamed all the time for
like the violence and stuff.
The violence and stuff. And it's just like, well, that was some bullshit. At least this is like in the realm of possibility.
Sure.
Like, yeah. People are saying like video games are too good, so people's like sex lives are going down. It's like, well, sure. Okay. I could see that. Yeah. That's, maybe some guy is spending more or gal is spending more time with their video games and less time with their significant other.
Sure.
That could have
I think that's also relative to whatever things they have going on in their life. Like it's not, it's hard to blame because then you could replace that with anything.
Oh yeah,
because it's good enough, you're going to stop doing whatever else in your life.
So yeah, I mean, it's at least it's in the realm of reasonability. It shouldn't be banned.
No,
but it's and he's right about the mind altering. Like games are sort of mind altering. It's perhaps one of the easiest ways of entering cognitive flow, right? And in a different way than you get from just passively watching a movie. It's active cognitive flow. It's like the thing that you would get from working on like a really good drawing or painting or puzzle or woodworking project or some sort of creative project where it takes a decent amount of physical effort or mental effort to enter this. Well, it requires some mental effort. It's far easier. So yeah, I certainly see the problems with it. But
you definitely get direct feedback. I mean, exactly what we're talking about, where there's this challenge aspect to it that's addicting, but it's rewarding. It can kind of train your brain to see patterns quickly. Just kind of deal with maybe somewhat stressful situations. Like there are some benefits to it. Yeah,
but it's definitely. I think as far as like games with addictive features built in, Fortnite is far from the worst. Like you look at a lot of like early clicker games where it's like keep buying games. Buying for these boosts. A lot of mobile games have this problem.
When they're free, usually that's the issue.
Yeah. You look at the early free to play games, like there was this hilarious one called Guns, which was really actually fun back in the day. And it's still going to this day.
Yeah.
Where like you could, pay money. It took a while to save up to buy a gun permanently, or you could get it for such a time period, which I'd always just get the time period because you earn enough points.
And that was free to have it for the time period?
Or? Yeah. Or, you earned it for that time period. So you get it for like 2 days or so many hours or something like that.
Gotcha.
But it still felt bad that it was never truly yours. So you really wanted to pay money and get this thing.
I see.
Definitely earlier free-to-play games were definitely more evil.
It was more Wild West back then. Yeah.
Sure. So now it's pretty...
And there is action being taken against like loot boxes. I know in different countries they're really like cracking down on that. So the at least the more pure evil, loot boxes or addictive aspects to it are being dealt with. But I think if you toe the line and are just more rewarding for gameplay, it's fine. And it also depends on the parents just knowing what the hell their kids are doing in the first place.
Yeah.
Like one of the quotes was, "Parents have their arms up. They don't know what to do about it." Well, you bought the kid the thing. You pay for the Wi-Fi. It's like you have a say in this when it comes to children, at least. Like what your kids are doing. You're responsible for the stuff they have in their room. Remove it.
Yeah.
But Prince Harry is against Fortnite.
Good old PH.
Yeah. What else does he do over there in Great Britain?
They're sort of like figureheads. So to my understanding, and they influence and stuff, but.
I would love for Fortnite to release some kind of Prince Harry skin or some kind of response.
My God, I'd love it.
Just be like, oh yeah, that's cool. We have the Queen over here, doing the floss now. So deal with that.
Oh my God.
So I pulled up our next article or news story. So Review Bombed Borderlands 2 is the first to have user scores thrown out by Steam. This was kind of a weird one last week. You might, I think you know more about what happened here, but I'll read some of the excerpts from this. So Polygon's article, ONS Good, writes about Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 is the first game to get Steam's off-topic review activity flag in its user reviews. Under new measures that went into effect last month to combat so-called review bombing of games by gamers who are unhappy with their publishers or developers over something else. On Borderlands 2's custom review page, the 2012 game is listed as overwhelmingly positive in the opinion of 92,497,000 if I said that right, 92,497 user reviews and 1,107 recent reviews.
Numbers
are hard, exactly. Are listed as very positive. Accompanying that is the note that April 3rd to April 6th time range of reviews contain an abnormal set of reviews that we believe are largely unrelated to the likelihood that you would enjoy the product. These reviews are excluded from Borderlands 2's aggregated reputation score. Yeah, and this game's, they mentioned the year. Was it it's like 2000 something. It's old. This game is old, so it's weird to like now. Obviously, these reviews are just a negative response to Borderlands 3 being on the Epic Store for 6 months. I want to say
6 months.
Yeah, and there's other games that are following suit. So on April 3rd, it was announced that Gearbox would have Borderlands. As far as the PC exclusive, it'd be on Epic's Game Store for 6 months after its launch. It's the third major exclusive for Epic's storefront, which launched in December 2018. Metro Exodus and Tom Clancy's The Division 2 both eschewed Steam. 2? Yeah, but I think that's also a timed exclusive.
Well, I just bought that on the Uplay store.
Okay. Well, maybe beyond, because that's Ubisoft, right? So maybe beyond their first party launcher thing. Yeah. But what do you think about people just being trolls on the fucking internet?
I mean, it is the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just dumb. I think here's the thing though, and I truly feel this way, is like Epic is the first like actual competition that Steam has ever truly had.
Yeah,
like,
it seems like quickly they became this really big dog in the race. Or
they put their money, which they have a lot of, where their mouth is, and they made some waves. And I would consider it really truly the only competition to Steam on PC. And the way I feel is I feel that I should buy half my games on Epic Launcher because I want Steam to be worried.
Gotcha.
Like, people are throwing all this loyalty behind Steam, and Steam doesn't really care about you.
No, you don't generate competition and difference in price if you just cater to one, huge part of it.
Exactly. So I think people really should buy a bunch of games on Epic, and I think they should give Steam, make them a little worried.
Right.
Give them a reason to care. Give them a reason to go, oh, maybe we should make Half-Life 3.
Yeah, there you go.
But they don't. Until then,
always have the ultimate mic drop waiting. Well, I guess they have to make it, but to always drop, and that they could even make that exclusive. Console. It's only on Steam.
Yeah,
that they could always have that in their pocket.
But you got to give them a reason to care, and they haven't had a reason to truly care in a long time. And I'm honestly astounded they got rid of these review bombs, because
really it doesn't. This is kind of response to them, or that plays more into their side. So why would they review them? I guess they're trying to be fair, but I think it'll be interesting to see how they react to Epic getting all these huge games that are timed exclusives. It's kind of weird this year to have, like, for the longest time, these console wars, and now to have the PC world really experience it with these launchers, with Epic, with Steam. Like, it's actually pretty interesting to see them have to deal with some of this now.
Well, that's a meme I saw that I absolutely adored, which is like, it was in like 2010 picture of like a PC gamer. It's just like, you pathetic console players all warring it out where I can just be on the superior console.
Right.
And then it cuts to a picture of like Steam and Unreal having a knife fight. And then you have just like the Wii, the Xbox, not the Wii, the Switch, Xbox, PlayStation 4, the Ouya, the Soulja Boy console are cheering him on as they're having a knife fight. Right. It's like, that's exactly right. It's exactly right.
Just reuse like the the Anchorman, like the where they're all just fighting in that pit with all the dudes. I forget the name of that, but yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too that I think would be really interesting. Epic still makes games. Like, Valve made that one card game that I wish took off because it's a really interesting concept that you're playing on 3 boards at the same time. Artifact.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's a cool concept. But Epic's still making content.
Right.
And I think it's like it was with the console wars. Give us a reason. Like, the wars developed cool ass games,
right,
that we all loved and were loyal to.
Yeah, that's what. Right, out of that war came these exclusive kind of first party games that were huge. So maybe we'll see something like this.
I would love that. That would be great. And I can still buy both because I don't have to own 2 different consoles to have the Epic launcher and the Steam launcher.
That's where you're on the right side with that.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Yeah. We'll see. Time will tell with kind of how they react.
3 is good.
I imagine it will. So there was another slight thing related to Borderlands 3.
They took this down.
Did they? Okay, so this
so that they released that, they thought, and then
gotcha.
They thought that cross-platform thing was going to be a thing, or they weren't sure. So I think
it was like a technical way they had it phrased that thought people were. That's what they were kind of reacting to, right?
Well, I think it literally said it on the spec sheet.
Sure.
But it wasn't supposed to, so they took that down because they really don't know.
Gotcha.
They're not.
That's the thing.
Sure.
It is too early to tell, even if it was legit. So, we have this article pulled up. It's Borderlands 3 supports cross-platform co-op according to the Microsoft Store. This was Matt Perslow of IGN. So yeah, this is April 3rd. Yeah. So the listing for Borderlands 3 on Microsoft Store page claims the game will support cross-platform co-op. So what's happened since then? They've taken that phrase down, right?
Is it on the Microsoft Store before it's going to be on Steam?
So I don't know. This was just the store page claims that. So I mean, after that 6 months, it goes to everywhere, right? Yeah. So maybe they're just in anticipation. Really, on the Microsoft Store, you can still download games to your Xbox One. So I don't know if they meant through there.
That's true.
But yeah, the idea was that they were revealing some form of cross-platform compatibility, whether it's like PC to Xbox One. I feel like at the very least that seems possible. It's always crazy to. At least lately, there's like 2-3 games that they've really bridged the gap and let all consoles and PC play together. I mean, Minecraft, I think, and then Fortnite.
Definitely Fortnite.
Yeah. I know Minecraft was everyone except for PS4 for a long time. I feel like recently PS4 jumped ship. I might be wrong. But
they had a few select ones.
Yeah. But really, it's been everyone else can get on board. It's always PS4 that Sony is not willing to play ball. Yeah. But I could see, PC and Xbox One compatibility. That'd be cool.
It'd be great. But, I would love to play this with, because you're a console player and I'm PC, yeah. I can't play shit with you.
Right.
So it'd be nice if we could play this one.
This might be the first one.
That'd be great. I'd be down.
I feel like you have a better bet with the completely cross-platform play when it's these huge big dogs coming out. Yeah. Like Borderlands 3 is a huge game. So maybe there'd be enough to push Sony in the right direction to at least, let it happen. Yeah. But you only see that with the huge games. Fortnite, maybe Minecraft. Everyone else just, Sony just says, okay, we're not going to do that. Because really, as far as the consoles go, they're ahead of the pack, so they have no reason to play nice with anyone.
Right.
But it only hurts gamers when they do that.
Right.
I thought I'd kind of go over what's coming out this week.
Ooh.
So that's a lot of our big news articles. But so for this week, we got, and some of these dates are in backwards order, but one thing I was under my radar, did not see, but it's a game called Dangerous Driving. So it's really the same team
I saw
behind.
A review for that today. It's apparently very good.
Yeah, that's the team behind Burnout.
Or like a preview, yeah.
And it looks just like you're playing Burnout. It's pretty cool.
Because it's not by Criterion, right? It's
good question. So let's see. Small Case Studio, comprised of the same of the original Burnout creators, absolutely nailed it with their second try at Danger Zone 2. So good question. I have to like read that and figure it out. But I know it's comprised of some of the team members, but I just don't know in what form. Yeah. Was it Dangerous Driving?
Yeah. I'm just astounded at how fast it looks in that trailer. It looks to me like it's in fast motion.
Well, I saw the what was gameplay. I think it's like 60 frames a second. But yeah,
it just looks like, how are you going to control that game? Like, you're going to have to memorize all these courses, which is fine. I know when I play Burnout, like once I memorized the courses, I felt like a badass. But
yeah,
like, God,
so
that's fast.
Three Fields Entertainment. I don't know if that's the publisher, but I'm on their site now. That might be the publisher.
God, that's just.
But
fast.
It looks dope. And it comes out April 9th, so tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, on PS4, Xbox One, PC, so I will be checking that out.
I hope it's good, because like I don't play racing games, and I don't know anyone that plays racing games, but I feel like if I was one of those people, I would feel completely ignored by the industry as a whole right now.
There isn't a whole lot. You're right.
Yeah. God, look at just it
looks
like
dope.
It's been fast forward. The other sports genre that a whole bunch of like friends and coworkers that were casual gamers mentioned that they really miss is boxing games.
Yeah. Really, there's the UFC games that come out every couple of years.
Yeah.
But there's no dedicated boxing games. One of the articles I do have is there's the not the eShop, but on the Switch there's like the NES Classic games you can download that are part of their like monthly subscription. They are bringing Punch-Out to that one as a free game.
Good,
so as far as boxing games, they're doing Punch-Out, but it's like Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream. Like they kind of are not reusing the Tyson license or whatever. But yeah, as far as punching games, I did play a punching game or a boxing game rather on Switch a couple months ago. I have it, but it's like a workout game. It's actually pretty awesome where you hold each Joy-Con and you're punching, but you're also doing like technical moves where you have to duck, you have to go to the side, you have to do jabs. It's really cool, and it's actually like a good workout. But it's cool. Although that's one where I definitely had to put the straps on. Yeah. Because it's so easy to just let go and just throw a bomb at your TV.
You don't want to send that through the 4K TV?
No. Yeah, but that game's actually pretty dope. But yeah, there isn't any boxing games really. Not a lot of. It's all gone to just like just these fighting games like Mortal Kombat and that kind of thing. But yeah,
which is good that we have a resurgence, and it's been a resurgence for a while now. But of the traditional 2D fighting games,
yeah,
that's really cool.
That's also not my big thing, but I love that they're there. Like I only don't play them because I suck at them. That's my only thing. Right. But if I could, I'd be right there in the mix playing it.
But I still love watching the tournaments. Like Evo is my absolute favorite. Like, yeah,
is that the biggest fighting tournament? I always hear that term. Okay.
Yeah, biggest fighting tournament in the world. I don't know whether Evo Japan has. I still feel like Evo America is bigger, but Evo Japan is getting up there, and like the Capcom Pro Tour, like it's insane to watch. And you watch these high level. Oh god, it's so fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I was watching. It was like a recent Street Fighter. I forget the game, but it was just, and it was like Kotaku shared it. It was just nuts. Like you had these characters drain one character's life to like one inch, and then the other person just completely comes back.
I know what you're talking about. That was a show match.
Oh, really?
That was, to my understanding, that was choreographed.
Oh. Well, but even choreographing that would be nuts.
Yeah.
That's not easy at all.
The timing on that was pretty damn precise. Wow. And the fact that they made it like look threatening the entire way through is absolutely astounding. That was really cool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we must watch the same thing. So we got Dangerous Driving. We got Phoenix Wright. I pulled this up. I feel like, did you ever get into the Phoenix Wright games?
No.
So it's Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. It's a trilogy. So it's all of the games of which I think were originally on the DS or the 3DS. They're now releasing all together April 9th, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC. They seemed cool, but I never got into them. Yeah. But I liked that it was going cross-platform now. What about Earth Defense Force, Iron Rain? That comes out April 11th. So I know I played the older Earth Defense Force games. I think there's one on Xbox 360 that I played. Yeah. They're just more like campy, just kind of Power Rangers, meets whatever B movie where you're just fighting these insects. Yeah. Like a kind of like a bullet hell kind of thing. It's cool, but I don't know if you were into them at all.
I never was. I think it's still neat though. Like it's sort of, it fits a very, it's weird that I'm not into it. And I've never really played one, but like, I mean, I kind of go to this for like the same stuff that I like in Risk of Rain. Like throw me like 100 enemies. Right. And just let me go at them with my machine guns. Right. But it, it's good for those Earth Defense Force fans, and the monsters in this look cool. The mechs in this look cool. It just looks. Yeah. If you like Earth Defense Force, you're probably gonna like this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks cool. It's one of those. It's not like it's mindless at all. There's strategy to it, but it's one of those where you can put on a podcast and just kind of go to town in there. And I do like those experiences a lot. Good. So we got Earth Defense Force. This one I've been waiting to see how it performs as far as just like graphically wise. But Hellblade, Sena's. I never say that out loud. Sena's Sacrifice. Yeah. So I played this on PS3 or PS4 rather, and it's a beautiful game. It's awesome. This is by who makes Hellblade? It's like Chaos Theory or Ninja Theory. There we go. Yeah. So it's on Switch, which I really am interested to see how it performs on Switch because it's like a graphically demanding game.
See, that's I think the thing that worries me is I do feel like the graphics, it being this beautiful, does mean a great deal to the game being as effective as it is.
Right, and you are sacrificing that for it to run on Switch, right?
Yeah. So that has me worried.
Gotcha.
But hopefully it's good.
We're seeing gameplay from PAX East, which is just recently, and it's running. It looks, okay. Yeah. There's another one that it surprised me that it's coming out on Switch. I guess day and date. It's Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out on Switch.
I don't know how I feel about that.
And apparently,
that worries me.
At PAX East, they're also showing it, and apparently, from people who have played it, it runs well. And it's at 60 frames per second, apparently, which is what the gameplay, anyways. Yeah. It's nuts, but it's kind of surprising to see all these developers when they start taking a crack at it. They're able to really get some good performance on the Switch.
Yeah, I feel like the Mortal Kombat's a weird one though, because that's another one that's from every single Mortal Kombat that's ever come out has been an absolute stunner. Right. So it'd be weird to play it on like the least graphically impressive console. Like graphics are one of the things I come to that series for. So
right. Yeah, I think if you have the option, you go with your higher end, either PC console. But I guess if you that's all you got, the Switch, you get to play it. But yeah, I'm gonna actually use that on my One X or whatever, my PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
And then that game keeps looking gorgeous. I know they revealed another character for Mortal Kombat 11. It's like this collector guy who has these extra arms.
He looks interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing that I want to know more about. Have they announced Goro for it?
No, not that I know of. I know there's Shao Kahn or whatever, the guy with the skull head. But they did Goro, or is it Goro? Yeah, from the last one. He was kind of the featured baddie somewhat.
Yeah, but, and he was pretty fun to play too.
Yeah.
The thing that has me concerned about that, so it kind of makes me wonder if they're cutting a corner, but I won't know until we know if Goro's announced. Because when it comes to animating, you have to have different skeletal types. And it does make things more complex with a game like Mortal Kombat, where you have to be able to tear off limbs, tear people in half. Like, it makes it that much harder when you have different skeletal types. So they with at least with the last Mortal Kombat, and I think the one before it, they had to have a skeletal type for men, the skeletal type for women, which a lot of games don't do, and that's why you see a lot of women characters be animated so poorly, is because they just throw a man skeleton underneath. Yeah, and it doesn't work. And then they had the forearm character. So they had Shiva, or is that her name? Shiva?
The one with the bug lady is what I call her.
No, not the bug lady, because she's got a woman skeleton.
Oh, okay. She just has extra tentacle things.
Yeah, which this guy basically has. Like, you look at his body, his arms come out just right behind his shoulder blades. He's got a human skeleton with extra arms. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was Shiva and Goro have these extra long torsos with these arms that come out of the sides. Yeah. So they have to animate differently. And I think they're a very realistic interpretation of how limbs and muscles, like I've always, like, that's a very realistic interpretation of how a forearm person would be.
Yeah, they try to figure it out.
Yeah, whereas this guy's a little bit just like, he's got arms in the back. I like that he actually has 6 arms. He's got 2 just holding like books in the back.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And he's got the main, but he looks interesting. I think he looks a little fun.
He does. He has one good, I don't think it's a part of the actual like end execution. I'm blanking on the name. But it's one of his like brutalities or whatever, where he's just stabbing you like a million times, like super quickly. It just looks so awesome because and every arm comes out. But it's not one of his fatalities. But yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, interesting. But I'm more and more excited for that comes out this month. Mortal Kombat 11.
Does it?
Yeah, it's like end of the month. Yeah.
I'm glad Noob Sabata's in it. That's the only character I care about.
Is that the ghost robot one where it's like 2 characters?
Yeah. It's like I don't think he's a robot. But
there's one of them where it's like, I think there's like a ghost robot or something, but where it has like a powder. Smoke, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, but that's one person, but this is 2 characters. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know how this one works, but yeah. So he's got the weird shadow form,
right? And you can fight basically like with 2 characters. Yeah, they jump in and out.
Yeah, his just moves look so cool and unique. So
I always loved the. It's like Kotal Khan, I think his name is. He's from the last one. He's this Aztec god. He's just crazy awesome to me. Like, I'd get a tattoo of that guy. It's just great. My favorite fatality is his. He like rips your heart out and then like just squeezes it and like drinks it. But the way and it's perfect, the way they're freeze framing the end fatalities, like how they stop on that, and he's just like drinking your blood. It's awesome. It's just like a straight up Aztec god just murdering you. I love it.
Yeah. He was always fun to watch in tournaments because his moves did tons of damage, but they went out super slow. And he could combo very well if he could land something. So he was the most disrespectful character to watch. Because if you threw out a move, you were taking a huge risk that could be punished. But just like no respect whatsoever towards your opponent. Just like, here's 17 frames of dodge this, and I still gotcha. So I don't know why he turned into a Southern prospect or a prospector there, but he's mining that ass with that.
Yeah, I think on one of his variants he has like this. It looks like a rugby like Quidditch whatever kind of palette, but it's like a traditional whatever weapon, and it has these like sawed blades on them. Yeah.
Well, you know what those are, right?
No, is it for cutting heads off or something, or is it?
Well, so the things on the side were volcanic glass.
Whoa!
So not only like it sucked with that weapon, like it realistically, because you dig into people and it'd be stuck there, and that shit's sharp.
Yeah.
But it'd break off into you, so your weapon would eventually not have very much Blade-like. It still have enough to like.
Would that
kill
happen
people.
in the game, or are you talking about
not
just
in the
theory?
game? No,
Oh,
but
okay.
in real life, yeah, it was both a terrifying weapon, but also not the best weapon. But it's still
you're still stuck with shards of volcanic.
Yeah, like even if most of it's broken off, you're still gonna have enough to cut people really bad. But
and you can still beat them with this heavy wooden thing too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait for that. What else we got coming up this week? We got Dangerous Driving, Phoenix Wright. Hellblade. So Vacation Simulator, have you looked into that at all? I think it's a VR optional game, but it's on PC and PS4. But it's the same guys that do, or the same team that did. It was like Job Simulator. There we go.
I knew it was gonna be those.
Yeah,
guys. Mainly because I think that monitor that you have on your PC.
Right. But yeah, so it's just you have to.
So it's gonna be hilarious, is what you're saying.
Yes. Which reminds me, there's another VR game by the guys who do Rick and Morty, or one of the dudes. He did his own. I think it's Squanch Games. He made his own development team. But it's it's something Saves the Universe, or it looks hilarious.
Is
like,
it?
I don't think it's out yet. But
did they make? Were those the guys that made I Expect You to Die?
I don't think so, but it could be.
I know. Oh, yeah.
So Accounting Plus was one of the last ones it did, which was also dialogue heavy, and so it's like Trover Saves the Universe. Yeah. So that one's VR. I'm really interested in getting VR for that one, but it can be played, I think, either way.
Oh, that's good. That's good that they have that.
But just like the dialogue is so Rick and Morty, like you're just, if you look at a character too long, they're just like, why are you looking at me? Just like, and just berate you with insult. It's awesome. Yeah, and everything's super weird in the game too.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that I'm not sure when that comes out actually.
That actually reminds me a little bit of. Did you see that Saturday Night Live sketch that came out this last week?
No, there's one with the Game of Thrones guy, right?
So he's not American, right? He's British.
No, he's British. Yeah.
His American accent is spot the hell on.
I've yet to see these skits, but I've heard of them.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But yeah, they did the virtual reality thing that I could totally see the guys behind Rick and Morty making this joke of a game, and it was hilarious. Oh, it was great. It was great. If you like VR,
I gotta see it. I forgot.
It's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, it had to do with like the dialogue, like the cheesy dialogue.
Yeah, it was like the not letting you get to the game.
Oh, gotcha.
Basically, and yeah, it's pretty funny. It definitely gave me a lot of vibes of Anthem.
Oh, really?
When I was playing it, because I was just like, I don't want to talk to you people.
See,
let me shoot things.
There's something to that with like pacing or balancing that whole thing. It's like, yeah, you want to deliver the story, but also if I'm not having fun, if you're limiting me or like blocking me from playing the thing, then I'm out. Like you've got to kind of keep that in mind. I imagine they do, but there's times where huge games just kind of fall short when it comes to letting you play the game.
Well, and that's the advantage. Like in that style game, I'll at least like, while I've trashed a lot on Destiny, I at least liked in Destiny 2, something happened every single cutscene it made you watch. Somebody died, shit exploded, like something actively happened that pushed the plot forward in a meaningful way. Even when it was just the weird scenes where he's interrogating the guy, at least that was interesting and we got some development. So
yeah, or at least, giving the dialogue while you're playing. Like that's that always is a positive thing for me. Like I really appreciate when they do that. Yeah. Where you feel like you're doing something, you're still getting the dialogue or the story. Yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah. Like a Half-Life kind of feel where it's like you're just always in the game. Yeah. But that's really what's coming out. Okay, Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels comes out April 10th too. Along with Star Soldier and Punch-Out for the Switch NES library. Yeah. Which I've kind of jumped into here and there. It's cool. I like that it's there.
Can you look up Star Soldier real quick?
Sure.
To me, oh, you know what? No, you don't have to. I was thinking of a different game. I think it was called
Star
Sky
Citizen?
Soldier.
Oh, okay. This is from NES.
There was this really cool SNES game with gorgeous, like, cartoony graphics. I think it was called Sky Soldier.
Gotcha.
That if
is
that
it a
came
shmup,
out,
as these are called, or is that like an insult or something? It's a shoot 'em up.
Yeah, shoot 'em up.
I want to call people shmups though as I walk down the street.
It does sound like it's something you call an idiot.
Like a New Yorker, would be like,
yeah.
Walk in here, you shmup.
But yeah, there's no insult in shmup whatsoever.
Gotcha.
It definitely is an interesting term that like there's the fact that it's split into like it's either a shmup or a bullet hell, and while they're the same thing, they're definitely not the same.
Gotcha.
Or like
Contra is more of a bullet hell kind of thing, right? Or
the fact that a shooter is different than a shmup.
Gotcha.
Like,
right.
Can you imagine trying to explain that to your mom?
What? I got a Nintendo, but
you're playing that shoot 'em up game, Mom. It's not a shoot 'em up. It's a shooter.
Those kids are also the ones review bombing on Borderlands too.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
It's just trolls. That's it. That's all we got for this week.
Nice.
Anything else that caught your eye that happened?
I had something earlier on, but it has gone. It has gone out the ear. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you play? Have you kind of switched gears and you're not playing any more of not Splinter Cell, but the other one, Division 2?
I really should go back to it because I paid $60 for it.
Yeah, that's always a thing to kind of bring me back.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think I would have given Anthem a bigger chance if I hadn't bought that Game Pass. I could cancel after 1 month.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should go back to it. I paid $60. I mean, it's fun. I might as well finish having fun and get to the raid that's coming out on the 25th.
Gotcha.
But yeah, now just Risk of Rain has me. So
that's cool. Yeah, same here with Metro, the last Metro that came out, Exodus. Yeah. I bought it, day and date when it came out. I just was not in the mood.
Yeah.
It's such a kick in the balls where there's no fun there really. I mean, it's fun, but it's so just you're stripped down of everything, and it's just I was not in the mood for that. So maybe one day. But I've bought all of the other ones, and the same thing happens where it's like I'm just not. I think I just don't like the whole world in the same.
It could be. I mean, that sucks too.
You gotta stop buying these
when you wanna like something, but you just can't.
Yeah. I would like that team I'd like to see what they do that's outside of that world. Like I really like the way they craft the world, how detail heavy it is. It's just not for me, but I want to see what they do next.
Oh, another thing. Did you ever watch that footage of the Outer Wilds or whatever it's
called?
Oh,
I did. Yeah. I almost brought that up as one of the articles, that stick that they created that changes and it's like shrinking and distorting this character's head, but apparently can happen to anybody, like any NPC. You're just
wailing on them, it changes their face. That's hilarious. The game looks funny. I thought it was neat that your sort of VAT system isn't you, it's your teammates.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that part.
Yeah, so you could you can slow down time and shoot people a little bit more accurately, but when you did an ability, it wasn't you, it was one of your teammates did their cool ability, like the one chick whips out her Gatling gun and just mows down a room full of people.
Okay.
And it gave them so much more personality. I want to make sure they're alive throughout the rest of the game. And I'd be very mad if they died.
Yeah, gotcha. Because, I think you mentioned anyone can really die in your party or like NPCs and stuff too.
I don't know about in your party. Probably in your party, though.
I guess
at least NPCs, you can kill all the quest givers.
Gotcha.
Which I think is great. And games don't let you do that anymore. No. Not that I would.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get the good ending. Damn it! Not that this game's probably gonna have a good ending. It's gonna have some shade of.
They're all great. Yeah.
Confetti. But yeah, I'm very excited for that game. I hope.
Yeah, that keeps shaping up to be a really cool. Because I think it's like X. It's Obsidian, right? So it's like X Fallout, New Vegas. The team that did that.
But they lost the writer though, who was a key component of what that game was. So we'll see how that goes. He's going to be making that new Dying Light game, which hopefully is good.
Whoa, I played the other ones, or at least the first one that came out.
That's it. Dying Light. Well,
that's where you're running around and you're kind of parkour and stuff in this weird third world country or whatever, or like Brazil or something. That was really cool. I loved. I played a lot of that actually. I think it was like right around when the PS4, like the second year of the PS4, or like end of the first year. I dug that.
Great. Well, it's weird going. I started playing that earlier this year, and it's one of those games too that I put it up there with Crysis. Why don't other games look this good?
Yeah.
Like Crysis is a bajillion years old. Dying Light is not as old, but it's still pretty old. And there are tons of games that come out nowadays with 2 times the budget, 3 times the budget that still don't look that good. Why is this a thing?
I don't know. Yeah, especially what you can do in the game. You can like dismember all these, characters and stuff, and there's just a lot going on, and it runs pretty smooth. Yeah. I don't know. Well, you know what? If you ever play any of the Uncharted games, I feel like Naughty Dog, the way they push their engine, their games are always gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how they keep pushing the line. Like I was watching my nephew, he was playing some of Uncharted 4 or Rain Guy 5 as we
Rain Guy 5, that's right.
But he's played, and I just forgot how freaking beautiful it is. Like there's that, you're being dragged in the mud at one point, and it just looks gorgeous, and all this, everything's wet and stuff. Yeah, it looks, the way that what they're able to do is nuts, and which makes me even more excited for Last of Us 2 because that's gonna be dope.
The thing that's interesting with them too is every time I've watched one, I'm like, they have left no graphical trick off the table. They're all there. I think
to where it's only rendering like exactly what you can see kind of thing.
Oh, well, all games are always doing that.
Gotcha.
Like the fact that like it's as gorgeous as it can possibly be. There's no going beyond that. But that being said, Red Dead kind of raised the bar.
Yeah, for sure.
With a couple of tricks, like some of that. The way they're modifying that terrain, which I think the last Uncharted did have some of that. I don't know to the extent. Again, I didn't play either of them. But the other thing, like the way sunbeams can go through your ears and nose, like I'm sure they're gonna have that in the next Last of Us game or whatever. Like there's still a few tricks that people are pulling out that they can add to their playbook, and I'm sure they will. And that game's gonna look gorgeous.
Where it's more of a, I mean, they're still going to keep pushing the bar, but it's more of a game of subtleties where it's like, what can we add, like the light going through the ear? What little things can we add to eventually be this huge, overarching thing where it's like it's just tons of detail that encompasses the whole thing. But really, that's the pushing of the boundaries now. It's like just trying to figure out what little things you can do. It's interesting.
Which oddly enough, I still feel is not that real-time raycasting. It should be the holy grail, but it just doesn't feel like it now that it's here.
Okay. What games have that? Have I seen this
Metro.
already? Oh, okay.
So, but you have to have a PC that can run it. That
gotcha.
GTRX or whatever it is. But you look at it on and you look at it off, it's like the difference isn't big enough anymore. We've got enough tricks up our sleeves.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And they can't even, I watched a video kind of comparing when it's on and when it's off. You can only do one light at a time, which steps back from a trick we just got with deferred lighting, where we finally could have more than 6 lights in a room at a time actually doing anything. We couldn't do that before. You could only have 6 do anything. And now you can have near unlimited lights all lighting stuff. So the fact that we're taking a step back kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's just fine-tuning that because it's taking a step back, but it's also you have more it's more that raycasting thing or whatever you were mentioning was more advanced. Yeah. So, but it is bringing it down to 1. But eventually there's a future where it's like that same raycasting for all lights, right? Eventually you get to that point. I don't know how or what's going to be capable of playing that, but yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Sweet.
Yep. That's it, man. Sweet. Nothing else going on. Gavin, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drunk Devs on Twitter.
Gotcha. You can find me at Fonzie Pants at Twitter. This has been Plastic Cards Podcast. See ya.